What if you combined Ruby and Gift Storm in Modern? That's exactly what we're doing today. Let's go check it out. This video is proudly sponsored by Card Market. This is Modern Izzet Ruby Storm, and once again, this is a donation deck from Ari, a longtime supporter of this channel. Ari, thank you for your continued support. I truly appreciate it. And this is a spicy brew that I put together. Ari just asked to see Ruby Storm, and this is something that I've had floating in my head for a few weeks now. If you go back and watch my last video, which you can find in the card above, I mentioned how I wasn't exactly thrilled with Flame of Anor, but I'm also not a huge fan of Glimpse the Impossible. And, well, what do you do if you don't really like either card? I think Artist Talent is a card you could play. But today I'm trying something a little bit spicier. I'm going to add in Gifts Ungiven, one of the premier Storm decks of the format if you go back 7 years ago at this point, maybe even 8. And, well, where is it gone? Well, when you add Ruby Medallion into the format, things shifted because you were rewarded for playing Reckless Impulse and Ren's Resolve, wherever that is. Here we go. And those are better than cantrips like Consider or Sleight of Hand because you can play them off of Desperate Ritual or Pyretic Ritual to continue the chain with Rail Monsoon Mage. So it makes sense where the blue cards were cut and then they were never added back in. But now we're in a spot where those 3 mana value spells aren't really performing to expectations. So what if we add that deterministic win back into the main deck with 3 copies of Gifts Ungiven with the 4th copy in the sideboard for your wish? I think that becomes pretty interesting. So that's what we're going to try here today. So you now have a deterministic win that doesn't require you to chain multiple copies of Reckless Impulse together, hoping to cobble together a win. The downside is if you play Reckless Impulse and reveal Gifts Ungiven and you can't cast it. Yeah, but there are some number of games where you couldn't play Glimpse the Impossible or Flame of Anor anyway, so I think that's ultimately fine enough. One thing about playing Gifts Ungiven is that you're rewarded for playing singleton cards in your main deck. So Otawara, Sink in a Stupor, Strike It Rich, and Underworld Breach. Well, why would you play these? Gifts Ungiven gets cards with unique names. So, for example, let's say your opponent has a permanent or a creature that you need to answer. Gifts Ungiven can search out Otawara, Sink in a Stupor, Grape Shot, and Flame of Anor. Okay, well, that's interesting. So that's one way. And then Gifts Ungiven, if you're trying to build a pile, could get Underworld Breach, Past in Flames, Desperate Ritual, and Pyretic Ritual. You could also grab Manamorphose, or the Strike It Rich if you just need mana and not a payoff like Past in Flames or Underworld Breach. So there's a lot of utility that you gain with these singletons, and that's what we're looking to try today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you do, like, comment, subscribe, support the channel, and I'll see you in the first round. Don't go anywhere. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You can also show your support by becoming a member of this channel. You get sweet perks such as badges, emotes, early access to videos, exclusive members-only content, and access to our members Discord section. As you increase the tiers, there are other rewards such as shop discounts, cyborg guides, and even free donation decks. Click the join button down below to find out more. We also have other ways you can support us, like theepicstorm.com/shop or submitting a donation deck via theepicstorm.com/donation decks. That's enough for now. Let's play some Magic. Welcome to the first match. We are on the play. Let's go. Sure, we'll try this. We could probably use a cost reducer like a Ruby Medallion or Rail Monsoon Mage, but I think that this hand is just fine. Our opponent reveals a Devourer of Destiny. Play the Wooded Foothills, will pass the turn. And now the Devourer of Destiny will trigger. Emrakul the Aeon's Torn, Rumble, and a Sanctum of Ugin. I can talk. Alright, Ugin's Labyrinth exiles the Devourer of Destiny. So a strong start for the opponent here. They're likely playing the Through the Breach deck. We'll grab the Thundering Falls, triggers, Flame of Anor. I don't think I want that. That can go to the graveyard. Sink in a Stupor isn't bad here. That could buy us a little bit of time. They play Hedge Maze. Gets rid of Misty Rainforest. I will fetch. And then we'll grab the other Thundering Falls. Gifts Ungiven, I believe, is a card I want. So, thinking about the spot we're in, I just realized we have a potential for improvement in the deck list. theoretically, you should probably have like one Rail Monsoon Mage or one Goblin Electromancer, so that way you can Gifts Ungiven for a cost reducer. So your pile could be Ruby Medallion, Rail Monsoon Mage, and then Brawl, for example, or the Goblin Electromancer. Karn the Great Piece of Trash. I think I'm going to let this resolve. It'll be interesting to see what they do here. If they grab a Tormod's Crypt, it's a little annoying. But on the off chance that they don't, I get to set myself up for a win. They grab a liquid metal coating. So that was the upside of me not using the Sink into Stupor. On the end step, we'll play Desperate Ritual and Gifts Ungiven targeting you. Alright, so we definitely want Ritual, so we'll grab Pyretic Ritual and Desperate Ritual. We probably want Manamorphose. And then we'll select Rail Monsoon Mage. I don't think there's a world that they give me the cost reducer, but, you know, we'll see. Another option is I could have done Rail Monsoon Mage and Ruby Medallion and not have done the Manamorphose, so then they give me double Ritual. And then I could try to win that way. And they give me double Ritual anyway, which is best case scenario. And then I drew Ruby Medallion. Let's go. Let's go. All right. We'll play Pyretic Ritual. Splice here. We'll play Desperate Ritual. Play the Grape Shot. Target you. How about you take 5? And now we'll play Past in Flames. People like it when I pop out my graveyard. I don't play like this ever. But when recording, I get requests all the time. They're like, could you pop out your graveyard? It's just so unnatural to me. Like, this is not something I would ever do, so it's very odd. Well, Manamorphose for double blue here. And something you could do, but not right now, is people love the old remand trick with Grape Shot. You can do that with Sink into Stupor, but you can't do it from the graveyard with Flashback. Flashback actually exiles the card upon casting it. So you cannot remand or Sink into Stupor the Grape Shot. It does not work. We'll play Reckless Impulse. I suppose I'll play a land for turn. We'll play a Run's Resolve. We'll play another Run's Resolve. Play Manamorphose. Blue. Storm is now 15, and I will play the Grape Shot. Nice Karn the Great Piece of Trash. Hiya! Boom! We got the win. I'm going to pop my graveyard back. I don't know if I'm going to continue to do that. I really don't like it, but we'll see. Alright, so sideboarding. You could bring in a couple copies of Into the Floodmaw in case they have something. I don't think this deck actually plays that much permanent interaction. What they do have is like Kozilek's Command and stuff like that, so I don't hate Pactive Negation here. You might want to board out like one Gifts Ungiven. You'll probably shave the Striker Rich. And I guess we're on the draw, so the Gemstone Caverns could be good. I might try to board out the Flame of Anor. I don't know how good it really is. Like, I know that they're a deck that sometimes plays like Talismans to ramp, but I don't know if there's anything for me to destroy that I care. So we're going to try this configuration. I find the Gifts Ungiven again. My concern with this hand is that it's likely a little slow, but it's playable, so I'm going to try it. I'm just worried about a fast Through the Breach that kills me. They exile a Null Drifter. Ruby Medallion was a wonderful draw. Okay, so now on the end step, we're going to go grab the Thundering Falls with the Arid Mesa, and then untap and play Ruby Medallion, and hopefully have access to a turn 3 win. The Ruby was such a good draw here. It does not cost reduced Gifts Ungiven. I knew that when I built the deck, but I still think that Gifts Ungiven is a powerful enough card where it's worth trying. Like, this might not be the list for the future, but I think it's at least worth trying out the idea. And a Desperate Ritual was a perfect draw. We'll play the Mountain, play Ruby Medallion, pass the turn. So generally the rule with Gifts Ungiven is you want 3 mana for a deterministic win after you've played Gifts. So I would need 7 total mana next turn in order to have a deterministic win. Uh-oh, that's terrifying. That could be a Through the Breach next turn. And right now, I have access to 5 mana next turn, not 7. So if I drew another Ritual, we would have a win with Pact of Negation back up. But that's assuming I even get a turn here. Okay, that's not a red mana. So they could still play Ugin's Labyrinth, or they could tap the Ugin's Labyrinth and then play a Talisman that makes a red, and then they'd have 5 mana for Through the Breach, but we'll see what they do here. Turn the Great Creator, sure. So this time they're probably getting something that stops me from winning. Haywire Might for my Ruby Medallion. Okay. Yep, that happens. We would have drawn the Ritual. That's crazy. We will play a Ren's Resolve. We hit double land. We'll play 1. Pass the turn. So last game they showed us the liquid metal coating. I wouldn't be surprised if they grabbed that again. But at least for now we have some mana. They do minus the Karn. They grab a Soulless Jailer. I cannot cast spells from graveyards or exile. So that includes things like Reckless Impulse. And I cannot wish for an answer here, so I think I'd have to draw the main deck Grape Shot somehow in order to answer this. Using Scalding Tarn, we'll grab the other Thundering Falls. Oh, I have Sink in a Stupor and Otawara. Those are answers to the Soulless Jailer. I think I'll keep the Manamorphose. If I had kept in the Flame of Anor, this is a spot where I would want to Gifts Ungiven for it. We'll play the Arid Mesa, pass. Yeah, me not bringing in a Into the Floodmaw or keeping in the Flame of Anor biting me a little bit here. They plus on the Karn the Great Creator and pass the turn. On the end step, we'll fetch. I'm going to play Gifts Ungiven, but I'm not sure what I'm actually grabbing yet. We'll grab a basic mountain. Target you with Gifts Ungiven. So the Soulless Jailer stops Underworld Breach. It stops Past in Flames. It stops the Rail Monsoon Mage Ultimate. So there's actually not a whole lot that I can grab here. I think Valakut Awakening is a card I'm definitely interested in. It also stops the Wish. Like, Soulless Jailer just happens to be very good against me. I think we want Manamorphose. Oh, hold on. I could do Otawara, Grape Shot, Sink in a Stupor, and then another card. Alright, so we'll do Grape Shot, Sink in a Stupor, Otawara, and Rail Monsoon Mage. Let's try this. They have to give me one of them. They give me Otawara, Sink in a Stupor. That's fine. We find a Ren's Resolve. We'll play Steam Vents, untapped. And then let's play Reckless Impulse. So I can't use the cards this turn off of Reckless Impulse, but I could next turn. And if I don't play Reckless Impulse, I have to discard to hand size. So we might as well play it this turn. It can't hurt. They're going to Kozilek's Command for 3. Sure. 1 on top, 2 on the bottom. They minus the Karn the Great Creator here. They choose Tormod's Crypt. I don't really care about that, to be honest. That's fine. Malevolent Rumble. Uh-oh. They found Emrakul the Promised End. Well, they didn't take it. They took a Breeding Pool. Okay. So now they have the Breeding Pool. I wonder if they have like a Flusterstorm or something. Because I think I probably lost to the Emrakul the Promised End. Because the Emrakul the Promised End, the Mindslaver ability is when you cast, not when it resolves. Unless they already had one in hand. On the end step, I will tap for blue mana, and I will play Sink in a Stupor to bounce the Soulless Jailer. The Breeding Pool could also be for Consign to Memory. Okay. We'll see what we can make happen here. Another Pact of Negation. I'm going to start off by splicing Desperate Ritual to make 6 mana. And then we'll Manamorphose. Red, blue. We hit a Rail Monsoon Mage. That was perfect. Our Storm is 3. So the number to flip Rail is N-1. So I'm going to need to get to 7 Storm before I want to transform my Rail Monsoon Mage. We'll say Tails. We lost the flip. Reckless Impulse. 2 lands. Wonderful. We will play a land. Let's fetch. I will grab Mountain. And we will play Ren's Resolve. Trigger the Rail Monsoon Mage. We'll say Tails. We lose the flip. 2 more spells before we want to transform the Rail. We hit a Manamorphose. I'll play Desperate Ritual. So you could play the Manamorphose there and stack it. I'm just worried about like a Flusterstorm or something. I know that it's a little silly. I just don't want to potentially lose because I'm trying to over-optimize. And now they're going to respond to Desperate Ritual. Is this a Kozilek's command? It is a Kozilek's command. I would like to respond with a Manamorphose. Trigger the Rail Monsoon Mage. I will say Tails. We win the flip! Yes! And now Manamorphose will make red. The Kozilek's command will just make a few Scions now, because the other ability will fizzle. Desperate Ritual. We will minus the Rail Leyline Prodigy here. And now we get that pseudo Mind's Desire effect for instants and sorceries. Storm is 8. They're reading this because they're like, can I consign to memory? Like, that is what they're trying to figure out right now. So my read is that we have to eventually bounce this Tormod script, play the Grape Shot from the sideboard, and then replay the Grape Shot from the sideboard in order to beat consign to memory. So having 2 Grape Shots is going to matter here. After tons of waiting, we get to reveal our cards. I will play Ruby Medallion. We'll play Pyretic Ritual for free. I did exile the Underworld Breach, which in theory could have been a third Past in Flames. I purposely didn't play 3 Past in Flames today because I wanted the Underworld Breach for the Gifts Ungiven package. So we're going to play Past in Flames, and I'm guessing that they're going to use the Tormod script here. And they do. So with this still on the stack, we're allowed to cast spells. So I'm going to play Desperate Ritual. I will play Manamorphose. We'll make blue-red. Play another Desperate Ritual. We'll play Valakut Awakening. And I'll bottom the Otawara. I just don't need it. Alright, we found the Wish. So Past in Flames. We'll play Reckless Impulse. Storm 17. Pyretic Ritual. We'll play Wish. This will be Storm 19. Grape Shot will be Storm 20, that I imagine will be hit by Consign to Memory, and then we can flash back Past in Flames and win the game. So we'll select Grape Shot, target you, and our opponent concedes the match. Sweet. We're 1-0 to start off this Modern League. Moxfield.com is the easiest way to build a Magic deck online. They support over 30 formats, including Legacy and many other Eternal formats. There are so many options to view decks the way that you want, from text view to individual cards, mana value, and even card price. There's also light mode and dark mode. My personal favorite feature is card tags. This way you can sort cards by function. Moxfield supports collection tracking, Scryfall search, decklist feedback, and so much more. Follow me on Moxfield.com so you can stay updated on all of my decks. It is time for the second match. We're on the draw. I'm going to keep this hand that is a turn 3 deterministic win. So we would play Rail Monsoon Mage on turn 2, and then untap and hopefully still have the Rail Monsoon Mage on the battlefield and then try to win. Our opponent plays an Overgrown Tomb into Young Wolf. We are facing Yawgmoth combo. A deck that does not have a lot of creature removal, so I would expect my Rail Monsoon Mage to live. The downside is that they could have something like Endurance in game 1 to empty my graveyard. They attack with the Young Wolf, sure. A Birthing Ritual, okay. So they could sacrifice the Young Wolf, which will then come back due to the Undying trigger, and they find a Wall of Roots. Very good start for the opponent. We'll grab our Thundering Falls. If we draw a Manamorphose, I could actually try for a turn 2 win. Draw. I did not find a Manamorphose. So we will just play our Rail Monsoon Mage and pass the turn. Okay, please be there when I untap Rail Monsoon Mage. Verdant Catacombs. And Birthing Ritual. So they added a green to their mana pool with Wall of Roots. So they're probably sacrificing the Wall of Roots here. I'm not really sure. No, they sacrificed the Young Wolf. Okay. They find a Samwise Gamgee. So I think what we're afraid of here is like a Court of Calling into something that stops me from winning. And that something that stops me from winning is probably, and I say probably because I'm not 100% positive, but it's probably Endurance. So we just need to keep Endurance in mind. We lose the flip. Play another Pyretic Ritual. We lose the flip again. Gifts Ungiven will be the third spell. We'll target them with Gifts Ungiven. We have that magic number for 3 mana floating. And if you haven't figured it out, I did mention that Ruby Medallion doesn't cost reduce Gifts Ungiven. The Rail Monsoon Mage does. Rail says instants or sorceries. So Gifts Ungiven is reduced. And here I think we would like to do Heretic Ritual, Manamorphose, we'll do Wish, and maybe a Desperate Ritual. They give me the pair of rituals. I'm not surprised by that. I'm going to just play Past in Flames here. So the reason I'm just going to play Past in Flames is I'm pretty sure... Oh, wow, they just conceded. If they had Endurance, they would do it right now and empty my graveyard. And then after the Endurance resolves, but before Past in Flames resolves, I could play 3 spells that give me 3 opportunities to flip the rail. Let's say I lose all 3 flips. Past in Flames then resolves, and I get 3 more chances to flip Rail Monsoon Mage. So that was quite nice. What to do, what to do, what to do. Probably cut Striker Rich for Into the Floodmaw. And if we care about Endurance, I could bring in Pact of Negation. I think I'm going to cut the Flame of Anor. And I'll bring in 2 packs and cut 1 Gifts Ungiven. I don't know how much I want to be on the Gifts Ungiven plan versus a deck where they do have Endurance and everything else, but we'll figure it out. So far, Gifts Ungiven has seemed good. Definitely better than Glimpse the Impossible. This hand is really powerful, assuming I find a second land. We will keep it, but I'm worried about the risk of not hitting that land. And the Steam Vents not being a fetch land that finds a Surveil land is also an issue. They use Verdant Catacombs for an Overgrown Tomb. A Cauldron Familiar. Into the Floodmaw. Alright, pass. They play Lush Portico, and now they will Surveil 1. Into Viscera. I missed the land. We will bounce the Cauldron Familiar. I don't think I guess maybe I should have bounced the Viscera, because the Cauldron Familiar just comes back. Assuming that they find their Samwise Gamgee. No, they did not sacrifice. Interesting. Our opponent plays a Wall of Roots and then quickly plays a Verdant Catacombs and activates. They now have 2 mana for a Birthing Ritual. Strong turn for them. We'll take 1. And now the Birthing Ritual gets rid of the Wall of Roots for a Drannith Magistrate. Annoying. And I missed the land again. I'm going to pick it up. I just don't feel like playing this out. We're too far behind. We can go to the next one. So they have Drannith Magistrates. That makes me want Into the Floodmaws. I'm going to board out the Pact of Negations, and I'll just have to power through Endurance or whatever. I think I'm going to cut Gifts Ungiven altogether and bring back a Flame of Anor. We'll try it again. Hopefully this time I will draw lands and spells. Game number 3 on the play. Killing me, Doc. So you have the Rail Monsoon Mage. You have Thundering Falls this time. I'm going to keep it. I know I just lost the last game, but I'm trying to not be results oriented. This hand has a lot of potential to win on turn 3. We'll play the Thundering Falls on the first turn, hopefully hitting a second land. Surveil. We don't hit, so that will go to the graveyard. Although, not a bad card to put to the graveyard when we have Past in Flames in hand. Windswept Heath for an Overgrown Tomb. Gilded Goose. So they're just Samwise Food combo. I don't think that they're Yawgmoth. Land? And I did not hit the land. Unfortunate. Pass the turn. Alex McKinley of the Epic Storm team wrote an article about Ruby Storm when Modern Horizons 3 came out. And if I remember correctly, in the article, it says that if you keep a hand with a Thundering Falls or any other Surveil land, you're 65% to hit the second land. I don't remember the exact number, but it's somewhere around 65%. And it feels pretty bad that I didn't hear. And they have the Drannith Magistrate. So even if I hit the second land, we would have had to find Into the Floodmaw. And I do find it now. So the question is, do I play out the Rail Monsoon Mage now? I think with the Drannith in play, I'm going to search out the other Thundering Falls. So that way I can potentially find Into the Floodmaw better. Birthing Ritual. Cauldron Familiar. Yep. They attack for 1. I'll go to 18. Birthing Ritual. They sacrifice Cauldron Familiar. I don't know what this is. You have Hexproof. Prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to other creatures you control. Weird. Okay. Well, I have Into the Floodmaws. I don't care all that much about this. We'll grab Thundering Falls. Speaking of Into the Floodmaw, we'll keep that. Play the Rail Monsoon Mage. So now we need to not have our Rail Monsoon Mage die and our opponent to not win the game. And what I mean by that is they're playing the Samwise Gamgee food combo deck, so I could lose infinite life on their turn. That is a real possibility here. They have the Visaris here, so that's another piece that they needed. And the Endurance, because now they could sacrifice... No, that doesn't work that way. Are you just trying to scry one with your Visaris here? I'm trying to understand. Oh, you're going to Court of Calling for the other piece. Yeah, I'm dead. Yep. So they have the Samwise. I think that's lethal, but I'm going to at least have them go through the loop a couple times. They sacrifice the Gilded Goose. They find another one. So now they have foods. And I think that they can recur Cauldron Familiar infinitely. Yep. Me missing the land was the deal breaker here. So they have an infinite loop where they sacrifice the cat over and over to the Visaris here. And then the Samwise Gamgee recognizes the cat entering and leaving and creates food. And when that happens, they could sacrifice a food to bring back the Cauldron Familiar, and I just lose infinite life over and over again. So I'm going to concede. I'm not going to make them go through the whole loop. I just wanted them to demonstrate it for you. But not hitting the second land obviously hurt. I knew the odds. It just didn't pan out. Kind of bummed we lost this match because I felt like this was a fairly positive one for us, but losses happen. Hopefully we win the remaining 3 matches. Looking to make playing your favorite combo deck much easier? Look no further than the Epic Storm Mini Token Combo Pack, which is available at theepicstorm.com/shop for $14.99. This combo token pack comes with 84 double-sided tokens. That includes our classic Storm and mana tokens, as well as fan favorites such as Goblins, Squirrels, and Slime Time Live. But that's not all. We've expanded this token pack to cover a variety of formats with new tokens. Stop on by theepicstorm.com/shop and make an easy decision to elevate your combo game. Will I ever learn my lesson? Probably not. We're going to keep this hand on the draw. It's 1 land, but this hand could be a turn 2 win. We have everything we need other than a second land. I'm going to roll the dice here. Turn 1 Verdant Catacombs, sure. Manamorphose, another card that could help with a turn 2 win, but I have to find that second land. We have a Surveil land off of the Arid Mesa that should help. If I miss on this land drop, I know for a fact a bunch of the comments are going to be like, you should never keep 1 landers, but that's just not true. You can keep 1, like the math says that it's fine. Watery Grave, and they're going to just pass. So now we're not even looking at a turn 2 win because we're facing what is likely the Dimir Frogtide deck, and it would be silly to just jam. I did not find the land. Yikes. Draw for turn. Magic is a cruel, cruel game. We will go to discard. Discard Ren's Resolve. They play Sink into Stupor as a land, down to 14. The hand I kept is definitely not good in this matchup, I will say that. Like, even if it had 2 lands, it might have been a little bad here. And they have a Psychic Frog with either Fatal Push or Spell Snare backup. We find land number 2, but it's the other Surveil land. Get rid of the Manamorphose. They play land number 4, still 5 cards remaining. And now they attack, they'll draw a card off the Psychic Frog. Another Manamorphose. Let's play 1. We're just looking for another land this turn. We'll make red, red. We do find the land. Let's try Ren's Resolve. Some players really like countering these, I've noticed. Like, I don't know if you should, but a bunch of the blue players seem to think that the matchup can be defined by Ren's Resolve card advantage. So some players really like going after them. This opponent let it resolve. I'll play the Steam Vents, and we have to pass the turn. They go to 12. Ouch. So they're up to 7 cards in hand. They play a Death Shadow. I was not expecting Death Shadow. Most Dimir Frogtide decks don't play Shadow, so I'm guessing that this actually isn't Dimir Frogtide. It is Dimir, and they have a Psychic Frog. But maybe it's not Frogtide, or at least the stock builds with the Oculus and everything else. Okay. Let's see if we can get them to counterspell a Pyretic Ritual here. They Mana Leak. That's an odd card. That's definitely not something I thought I'd be seeing in 2025. Okay. We'll play Scalding Tarn. They still have 5 cards in hand. We'll grab a basic mountain and play the Ruby Medallion. Somehow that resolved. I am truly surprised by that. Are you just planning on bouncing it? Like, what's the deal? Orcish Bowmasters. Our main deck Grapeshot gets exiled, but we still have a few copies that we can grab with our 2 wishes in our main deck. 5 cards still in hand. So they swing. Right now, this is 5 damage. They could always discard a card to Psychic Frog. We'll see. I'm also dead to a Dress Down. They cycle a Street Wraith. And now damage, I go to 9. They play Sink in a Stupor as a land untap down to 6. I mean, realistically, they should have cycled the Street Wraith in their main phase, because if they drew the Sink in a Stupor, then they could have... well, that's not good for me. It's not good because now if they just counter a ritual, I lose. Play Pyretic Ritual. The ritual would have to be spell, or the counterspell would have to be Spell Snare. Let's try Rail Monsoon Mage. I want to see if this is the card they kind of go after. We'll play Pyretic Ritual, trigger the Rail Monsoon Mage. The Fatal Push in response. I will attempt a Desperate Ritual. We'll say Tails. We lose the flip. Desperate Ritual. I will Manamorphose. We'll try Tails again. We lose the flip. Okay. So the Rail Monsoon Mage will die here. Okay, and then the Rail trigger, we'll say Tails. We win the flip. But it doesn't matter because you're dead. We'll play Underworld Breach. And now we could actually play Gifts Ungiven into a deterministic win. Because if I don't know if you remember this, we surveilled away Gifts Ungiven to start this game. And now that seems like a great thing. We'll play Gifts targeting you. We will select Wish, Past in Flames, Desperate Ritual. I don't know if this even matters. Pyretic Ritual. I'm probably making this more difficult than it needs to be. Storm is 8. They give me the Wish. Generous. We'll play Pyretic Ritual. Play the Ruby Medallion. Maybe they're like, hurry up and get this over with. We'll play the Wish. We'll escape Pyretic Ritual from the graveyard. Remove the Gifts Ungiven. We don't need it anymore. And the Rail Monsoon Mage. And now we'll play Grapeshot. So one nice thing about playing Underworld Breach in the main deck and one in the sideboard is another way you can beat Consigned to Memory is just putting the Underworld Breach in play and then casting Grapeshot multiple times until they don't have a Consigned to Memory anymore. We win game number 1 versus the bad guy deck. And now we're going to board in our Pact of Negations. Not a speed-based matchup, so Strike It Rich can get out of here. And then I personally think that Gifts Ungiven is extremely clunky versus the deck with tons of interaction. So I'm not in love with Gifts Ungiven. I think that's a card that kind of belongs in the sideboard here. That's what I would do. Let's try this out. Now this is an extremely good hand in the matchup. I will keep. So why is this so good? Ren's Resolve is a card where I mentioned in game 1 where sometimes your opponent will believe that the matchup is about the card advantage from Ren's Resolve, and it can be. And this might be one of those games. It depends on how the pace of this game goes. And then having land drops to just play your spells ends up mattering quite a bit. Ruby Medallion, a good draw. We'll play the Arid Mesa and pass. Verdant Catacombs. And they're fetching in their main phase for a basic swamp. So that warns me about Harbinger of the Seas. So I'm probably still going to grab my Surveil land, but the next one will grab a basic island. Or I'm sorry, basic mountain. Thundering Falls. Get rid of the Manamorphose. Another Ren's Resolve, okay. Let's go grab that basic land, and we'll try the Ren's Resolve. What I would secretly love to see off a Ren's Resolve here is just double Pact of Negation. That would make my day. But 2 lands, we're only going to be able to play one of them. They draw a card using the Clue token. They play Polluted Delta. They're already at 13. Harbinger of the Seas, they just gave us a window. I don't know if they have a Flare of Denial, but we're going to try to win. We'll play Scalding Tarn. Play Ruby Medallion. Desperate Ritual. Let's play Ren's Resolve. We hit Grapeshot Wish. I like the looks of that. We'll play Manamorphose. We'll make 2 red. Desperate Ritual. Manamorphose. How easy is this? Red, red. We'll play Wish. This is from 7. We'll play Reckless Impulse. Manamorphose. red, red, another ruby medallion. That doesn't really help. So I could play Underworld Breach from the sideboard, or I can just double Grape Shot them. I think double Grape Shot is actually just the safest. Because if for some reason your opponent had something that mattered here, like, I don't know, Ravenous Trap, or some other crazy card that you weren't considering, you get punished. There's the least amount of risk with double Grape Shot. Target you. I feel like we pulled one over here on the opponent, but I'll take a win. We are now 2-1. If you're still watching, make sure to give this video a like, comment, and subscribe. While you're near the description, here's a reminder to use our affiliate links if you're going to make a purchase from Amazon, Card Hoarder, or TCG Player. Just above those affiliate links, you'll find our social channels. Make sure to join those to connect with us. If you fail, try again. That's what this hand does. If your first rail dies, you try the next one. And if the next one dies, you try the third one. And if that one dies, you probably lose. But we're going to keep this hand and see what we can make happen here. Basic Forest into Hardened Scales. I don't think any of them will be dying. Okay, well, that makes this hand a little bit worse, but we'll see if we can beat Hardened Scales to Affinity. Inkmoth Nexus. Market Backwalker. I'm going to have to read this one. So it enters with X +1/+1 counters on it. You pay 4, put another counter on it. When this creature dies, draw a card for each counter on it. So it's, in my opinion, like a worse Hanger Backwalker, but they might be playing both, or maybe they just really want card draw. We will Surveil. I definitely want a Ritual. We'll play Arid Mesa. I will lower my life total to 18. Put the basic mountain onto the table. And Rail Monsoon Mage. They play Ancient Stirrings. They find a Steel Overseer. I don't care about that. No blocks. They play the Steel Overseer. And now we're going to try to win. You might be saying, why not block? Well, what if for some reason our opponent is capable of pumping their creature? Our Rail Monsoon Mage dies. That means I can't win this turn. Why would I take that unnecessary risk? Does that 2 damage matter? Definitely not. And I'd rather try to win the game this turn than try to save 2 damage that just doesn't matter, even the slightest. We'll play Reckless Impulse, Desperate Ritual. We'll say Tails. We lose the flip. So in theory, you could have tried to Splice there, but then you cut yourself off blue mana. I don't want to do that. We'll play Reckless Impulse. Storm is currently 4. We'll play the Scalding Tarn. Let's play Ruby Medallion. Desperate Ritual. Storm is 5. We'll say Tails. We lose the flip. I will fetch. Let's grab Steam Vents. Ouch. Down to 10. We'll draw 2 and destroy target artifact. Destroy the Steel Overseer. Tails. We lost the flip, so if we don't draw an instant or sorcery I can cast here, we fizzle. Well, we hit double Ren's Resolve, so there's still life. We win the flip, finally. Transform. Ren's Resolve. I will play Pyretic Ritual. Play another Rail Monsoon Mage. Let's minus this Rail. Holy spells, Batman. Alright, so I can play Gifts Ungiven for free, which is kind of cute. That was not something I thought about when I made the list today. Playing Gifts Ungiven for free is definitely powerful. Yeah, let's target you with Gifts Ungiven. Might as well. I came here to cast this card. We're going to do it. We'll transform the other Rail Monsoon Mage. And now Gifts Ungiven. We'll select Grape Shot. Past in Flames. Manamorphose. And why not? Another Gifts Ungiven. And the opponent concedes. Nice. Hardened Scales. I would like all of the Into the Flood mobs, or maybe just 3. Board out the Strike It Rich. We need 2 more cuts. I actually like Gifts Ungiven in this matchup, so I'm not sure if I want to sideboard that out. But the problem is, what else are you boarding out? There isn't a whole lot you can take out. Like, you could board out all of the gifts and then bring in the 4th Into the Flood Maw, which is probably the move, but I'm just not excited about it. Like, I want to cast Gifts Ungiven. It's why we're here today. This hand is good. We'll keep. Sigh. I think one thing that comes up a lot in my comment sections, and I think I even mentioned this in a recent video, is people like to say, well, you board this card out a lot, it shouldn't be in your deck. And it's just like not super fruitful thinking, because your game 1 configuration should be to beat as many decks as possible and have the highest win percentage while doing so. And if a card in your main deck gets boarded out a lot but helps you in game ones, that's fine. And then boarding another card in that would help you in post-board games is also okay. And I mentioned this about Legacy with Thoughtseize because people are like, well, you boarded it in every matchup. Well, yeah, it's coming in to beat my opponent's sideboard cards. Gifts Ungiven is boarded out because people are boarding in tons of graveyard hate, but it helps you win more game ones. So that's ultimately all that matters, is you want to be adjusting your deck for whatever game you're playing and not just go, well, I boarded out, it can't be good. I don't think that's actually like useful logic. They play a Darksteel Citadel, Walking Ballista. Now that's a better card in my opinion. Thundering Falls, we will Surveil, keep the Ritual. I believe I can try for a turn 2 here. So I would play the Ritual, play Ruby Medallion, Manamorphose, Past in Flames. I can't play the Ren's Resolve unless I want to risk fizzling. I could also just play the Ruby Medallion and pass, but if it gets blown up, I'd feel really silly. Or if they play Graveyard Hate. I think for the fun of it, we're going to go for the turn 2. I haven't had a turn 2 in Modern in a bit. Let's go for it. We'll play Desperate Ritual. Play the Manamorphose. I'm not going to play Ren's Resolve on the front half. I'm going to take the guaranteed Past in Flames. And then we'll play these spells after Past in Flames. We'll play Pyretic Ritual. Let's now play Ren's Resolve. Oh boy, we got there. Turn 2 in. We'll play Desperate Ritual. Play the Rail Monsoon Mage. Let's play... Oh no! Aw, you're not even going to let me go through it? Ah, that's a bummer. Okay, well, we're 3-1. One match left to go. With Card Hoarder, renting your favorite combo deck has never been easier. There isn't a more affordable solution for Magic Online. Want to play the deck in this video? Check out the pinned comment below to easily rent the deck from Card Hoarder. Did you know you can rent the Epic Storm from Card Hoarder for as little as 7 tickets a week? The final round, we are on the play. Sure, we'll try it. So, I think there's a couple flex cards in the deck. Like, the one Strike It Rich might not be necessary. You could put in another enabler, like a Goblin Electromancer or Baral Chief of Compliance, so that way you can Gifts Ungiven for a cost reducer. I think that could be helpful. The Strike It Rich was so that way you could always Gifts Ungiven for mana, but maybe the Strike It Rich is just wrong because it's never mana positive, it's always mana neutral. We'll get rid of the Wish. I don't think we want that. We play a Scalding Tarn, Manamorphose, a fine draw. We will play Ruby Medallion. It resolves! Good news. They search out a Steam Vents. Breeding Pool. What are you playing? Needle. Oh, you're on Breach. Okay. Rail Leyline Prodigy. So they had the read on Needle. And we find another Rail. Let's play Ren's Resolve. Well, the Veilcut Awakening was just the most insane draw here. We will play that. Veilcut Awakening, you look so good right now. We'll play Manamorphose. We'll make red. We'll say red. Play the Ruby Medallion. We'll play Pyretic Ritual. And now we'll play the Veilcut Awakening for 1 mana. We'll put 3 cards on the bottom. Ooh. So I didn't hit the blue for Gifts Ungiven. Let's play Reckless Impulse. This gets a blue. But now I'm a little short on mana. Because I can't play Gifts Ungiven with the cost reducing from the Ruby Medallions. So let's play Reckless Impulse. And I bricked. We'll play Ren's Resolve. I think I just have to play the Rail Monsoon Mage and pass. We likely have a deterministic win if I get to untap here, but that's a big if. The one upside is, our opponent hasn't done much setup in order to win this turn. They play Urza's Saga. The main deck Needle is kind of spicy. I haven't seen too many of that. Here's a Rumble, which reveals Preordained Tamiyo Inquisitive Student, Mox Opal, and a Spell Snare. They chose Mox Opal, so they could actually play Breach here. And then, I mean, they have a full graveyard. Like, they could actually go from nothing to killing me. This deck is so good. I think a hindsight thing that I just realized is, instead of keeping a Ruby Medallion, I should have... Okay, our opponent just concedes, but I should have kept a Rail Monsoon Mage and played that out instead of the Medallion. because it would have reduced Gifts Ungiven. So that way when I drew it that turn, there might have been a chance for a deterministic win. But I'd have to go back and rewatch. Like, I don't know if I'm remembering everything perfectly, so I don't want to assume that I'm making the right play when I might not be, or if that was even available. We definitely want the 2 copies of Surgical Extraction. Get rid of Striker Rich. I don't love Flame of Anor. I find that it's just a little slow, so I think I'm going to sideboard that out. And we'll try this. Alright, game 2, we've opened up a strong hand. We have the Valakut Awakening as land number 1, and then Steam Vents into Ruby Medallion as our play for the second turn. We could even potentially try for a turn 2 here if I'm fortunate enough to draw another Pyretic Ritual. Scalding Tarn for a Stomping Ground. Haywire Might. Well, that's probably going to make it so I can't go off on turn 2. Do I still want to play the Valakut Awakening? I don't think so. We'll just play the land and pass. If they don't leave up the green mana for Haywire Might, I would consider going for it. Urza's Saga. And a Rumble. They reveal Mox Opal, Temur Inquisitive Student, Emery Lurker of the Lock, and another Emery. So if it's Mox Opal that they select, they choose an Emery. They don't have the green mana. I think I'm going to try to force a turn 2. Scalding Tarn. We will play that. So in order for this to convert into a win, I am going to need to draw +1 mana off of a Manamorphose. So that is the stipulation here. Because I can Manamorphose here from 1 up to 2, and then I can Manamorphose again up to 3. But Past in Flames needs 4. So I guess I'm supposed to do a blue, because if I hit a ritual, Gifts Ungiven is just lethal. So I'll do blue. Underworld Breach. Okay, let's think about this. I could play the Breach. That costs 1. Escape Pyretic Ritual. That gives me 4. I think this works. We'll play the Breach. Escape Pyretic Ritual. I'm so glad I played the Scalding Tarn as my land for the turn. I even thought about Underworld Breach when I did it. And now we'll Gifts Ungiven. Oh, I forgot about the Ruby Medallion not reducing gifts. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Ah. So in order to play Magic on camera, you're supposed to be good. But I'm not. So bear with me. I just had a massive punt. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to recover from this. Because they have the Haywire Might for my Ruby Medallion, and I have no mana floating. I was supposed to Valakut Awakening there. That was really bad. Alright, so I punted. Let's just try to recover the best we can. Desperate Ritual. Pyretic Ritual. We'll take Surgical Extraction and Manamorphose. Yeah, I threw this really bad. In my head, we were going to have 1 mana floating, and that's just like not the reality of the situation. They gave me double Ritual. I could still Surgical here. I know that they have an Emery in their hand. So I think I'm supposed to Surgical the Emery. They have Breach. We'll exile the 1 from there. Exile this. And then exile these. So they brought in the Jace Fielder Mysteries. They have Lightning Bolt and Grape Shot. They have triple Flame of Anor. 1 Spell Snare, 1 Swan Song. Okay. Yeah, I punted that pretty hard. Pass the turn. The saga will go to the second chapter. Breeding Pool. They drew Grinding Station for turn. I'm just dead. I'm just dead. There's no justice. I punted and then I'm punished. Yeah, you got it. Okay. Yeah. That's my own fault. Ay, ay, ay. Alright. Not doing that again. I even said it leading it until this round. I was like, hey, Ruby Medallion does not reduce Gifts Ungiven. And then here I am. I just get too excited about a win opportunity, and all of a sudden math goes right out of my head. But I'll try to play better in this final game of this league. On the play. Let's go. Is this good? I mean, it's fast. We'll try it. I just don't know if this is going to work. If I could find a Rail Monsoon Mage, I'd feel a lot better. Our opponent takes a mulligan. And now mulligan's down to 5. Mulligan's down to 4. So they're clearly looking for some sort of interaction. Play Thundering Falls. Get rid of Arid Mesa. We don't need that. Misty Rainforest. into Tamio Inquisitive Student, Mox Amber, 2 cards in hand. Ruby Medallion? Well, I'm going to jam the Medallion. If they have the 1-of Spell Snare, you have it. Pass the turn. They have 3 cards. Urza's Saga, Nature's Claim. Okay. They have 1 card left in their hand. They create a clue. What about another Ruby Medallion? I think I'm actually going to pass here, which might seem a little odd, but my thought philosophy is they're unlikely to kill me from this spot. They did not crack the clue on the end step. Interesting. They're unlikely to kill me, and I want the Surveil because going all in on a Ren's Resolve doesn't feel like a probable win. So that way I can set up and I can try for a win on our turn when they only have 2 cards. We'll grab Thundering Falls. Rail Monsoon Mage. Makes me feel a little bit better. We'll play Ruby Medallion. Let's try Pyretic Ritual. Beseiju. Sure. Let's grab a Steam Vents. Yes. We'll play Rail Monsoon Mage. Pyretic Ritual. We'll say Tails. We win the flip. Say no. So far this turn I've played Ruby Medallion and Rail Monsoon Mage. They're not instants or sorceries. So the count to flip Rail is on 2. Ren's Resolve will be 3. We'll say Tails. We win the flip. Say no. Ren's Resolve. Manamorphose and a land. Not the best. Let's fetch to thin the deck of the land. We'll grab Basic Mountain. Play the Manamorphose. So this is instant or sorcery number 4. We'll say Tails. We lose the flip. I'm at 19. We'll make a red and a blue. Another Rail. That's not good. That is not good. So I could throw away the Desperate Ritual trying to flip the Rail, but I don't think that's like particularly good. And then you would plus hoping that it lives. So hold on. Let's just think this through. So if I win the flip, it would flip with 7. I'm sorry, it would flip with plus 5. So it'd be at 7, I'd plus, and then next turn I could actually negative. All right, we'll take the 50-50. Tails. I lost the flip and it doesn't matter. Okay. Pass the turn. Now they get to make a... But no, they drew a card. I thought they were going to make a construct. I guess they couldn't because they Besiegued. And now they can grab a Soul Guide Lantern. And that shuts me off of the graveyard axis that I could have won with. They make a construct. I might die to construct beatdown. And they do grab Soul Guide Lantern. They play Shifting Woodland. What does a winning game from here even look like? I think I just have to chain a bunch of like Reckless Impulse effects. They attack and now their construct gets even larger. Draw for turn. Reckless Impulse, that's a start. We'll play it. Tails. We lose the flip. I go to 17. Reckless Impulse. Into double land. Pass the turn. A lot of lands. So I can block and protect 6 damage here. The downside of blocking is if I draw into Valakut Awakening, I have 1 less card to put back. I think I'll take it this turn. I go to 11. They draw a card using a clue. They have 4 cards still in hand. Mox Opal. I'll move my sideboard down. And they had Lightning Bolt. So they could have killed the Rail, and they didn't. Or they just drew it off the clue, but either way, my Rail is dead. I guess I'll fetch on the end step. I go to 10. Grab the Steam Vents. Oh look, a Past in Flames that does nothing because of Soul Guide Lantern. We'll play the Bloodstained Mire. Play Past in Flames. They exile my graveyard. Surprise, surprise. And now I will play the Rail Monsoon Mage. So the question is, are we blocking next turn? Or I guess on their turn. So when they attack with the Tamio, it will be at least 6. Potentially 7 now. Because of the Grinding Station. And they just have the win. The mulligan to 4 beats us. Yikes. That'll do. So we lose. Our opponent just had a lot of interaction and we kind of flooded out, unfortunately. So my misplay in game number 2 cost us. And we got the 3-2. Ari, thank you for your support. I do appreciate it. I would like to say that again. What did I think of the deck list? It was better than I expected. Gifts Ungiven certainly felt better than Flame of Anor or Glimpse the Impossible. There could be something here. I do think that maybe over the Striker Rich, you should play like a Baral Chief of Compliance or Goblin Electromancer or something like that. Pick your favorite one. There's a bunch of them, but that way you could Gifts Ungiven for a cost reducer, which is probably something the deck wants access to. I'm not sure what to do outside of that improvement, but I think Gifts Ungiven certainly had some legs outside of me forgetting at a pivotal moment how Magic works. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. And as always, keep storming. What you should do is like, comment, and subscribe because there's no better way to support us. And if you enjoyed this video, head over to moxfield.com and follow us there. It's truly the best deck website on the internet. We update all of our decks there regularly with the latest and greatest technology, so you're always up to date. Once again, go check out Moxfield, and thank you for watching.